So not only that we got the last cards for Booster Set 7 revealed, but we also got the Deer Day boss card promos. So let's begin, and I am not going over Monster Strike because screw that shit. So first off, we're going to start off with a generic triple rare for Dark States, Heat, Haze, Acrobat, Maloslava. Grade 3, 13 power, and skillless. Auto, when placed on rearguard from hand during your main phase, cost counterblast 1. Choose a card from your soul with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard and put it to your hand, if that card has the same grade as your Vanguard. But call it to rearguard if it doesn't. But if you put a card to your hand, this card also gets us 5k. Similar to the Stokeo one where you could put the grade 3 back to your hand, except this one works with soul. Run in your own leisure, I guess. And now for the Tuesday stream. So first off, let's get the Booster Set 7 cards out of the way. Starting with Knight of Rendering Flash Calbri. Grade 2, tanky power, and skillless. Auto, when this card is placed on rearguard, cost counterblast 1, soul blast 1. Look at top 3 cards of your deck, choose a card from among them, reveal it, and call it to rearguard if it's grade 2 or less. But put it in your hand if it's not. And of course, shuffle your deck. Ah yes, now Cater Sanctuary gets one of those call grade 2 or less cards, and if it's not one of those, you actually put the grade 3 to your hand, or if it's the order card. Either way, it's a generic card, so run it in your own leisure. Next, for a Dragon Empire card, Meteor Flare Dragon, which is a grade 2 with tanky power and the skillless. Auto, when placed on rearguard, until the end turn, all your opponent's rearguards lose their count abilities and cannot gain them. And then, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this unit and retire it. It's been a while since I've seen some negates in Vanguard, but this time it's count abilities. Usually we get them for auto, but usually negates don't really matter too much in Vanguard, but it does help sometimes. It just depends on what deck you're playing against. For example, Verena's. But anyway, second skill. Count rearguard during your turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and they have no rearguards, this card gets plus 10k. Sounds like something made for Eugene or any Kagero type deck, but it's another card to run in your own leisure. And now for the Deer Day promos. We start off with the Cater Sanctuary one with Sword Saint Dragon Graham Grace. Grade 3, 30 power, and skillless. Count Vanguard. Your Persona Ride power increase also involves your back row units. Not bad? Especially this card will involve your back row. With the second skill of Act Vanguard, once per turn, cost counterblast 1, soul blast 1, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, and call it to the back row center rearguard. And then until the end of turn, it can attack from the back row and it gets plus 10k power. Too bad because of that, you kinda lose a booster out of it for this card. And the other problem with this card I see is that you have to call it exactly to the back row center rearguard. If it's on any back row, it would have been much better. And it's not really for moving purposes or anything, because the third skill kinda actually fixes part of that problem with the center back row thing, where auto Vanguard, at the end of battle that your back row center rearguard attack, put that unit to soul and draw a card. So basically the idea is that you get a 4th attack behind this unit, and you do sacrifice this unit's own power increase basically, but you give that center back row rearguard more power, and in place of that you do replenish your soul along with extra draw. It is just a generic boss unit if I ever see one. It doesn't have its own ride line, so you could technically just use any type of ride line you want with this if you want to play it in overdress, but in the end it is just personal preferences if people just want to play it. Finally, Demonic Prison Dragon Emperor Far Near. Grade 3, 13 power, and its skill is, you can only have one copy of this in your deck. Then what's the Persona Ride icon for? But anyway, second skill, Auto Vanguard. At the beginning of your main phase, your opponent chooses one of their rearguards and retire it. And if you did not ride this turn, this card also gets plus 10k power and 1 crit. Not bad, depending on what deck you play, especially you're not going to consistently be riding every single turn. Especially if you're playing this card as your main Vanguard, Persona Ride is definitely not happening. But anyway, third skill, Auto Vanguard. When your opponent's rearguard was retired during your turn, put a card from your hand to soul to draw a card. That put to soul will be important, and that retire is really easy considering your first skill literally forces your opponent to retire, unless they have an empty field. Finally, to the last skill, where Auto Vanguard. Once per turn at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if the sum of the grades of the Dark State cards in your soul is 13 or more, cost counterblast 2, stand this unit, and drive -1 to end turn. Keep in mind it says Dark State cards, meaning it has to be the nation cards themselves, and your total grades must be 13 or more. Considering that you're playing Dark States, there is quite a lot of soul charging in that, and now you got soul manipulation along with choice soul charging with generic Dark State cards. Getting that 13 should be very possible for the deck. It's just Counterblast 2 is a little heavy, but for a restand with extra 10k and crit, it's not too bad. It's just too bad that you can only run one copy of this, and it has a Persona Ride icon for some reason, and it doesn't have its own ride line, so this is just another generic boss unit that you could just play. Overall, I kinda like it actually. Alright, this is the last of the reveals for Booster Set 7 for Overdress, along with the 2 Deer Day promos revealed, and overall, I have to say I kinda like them. The Booster Set 7 cards are just generic, but you can run in your own leisure and they are pretty decent. But the Deer Day cards, they're pretty cool in concept. Too bad they don't have their own ride lines. I especially like the Dark State one. Mainly because it is a little bit gimmicky, but it does work well, pretty cool. But in that's it for this, and see you all next time. And I am now going over Monster Strike.